everyone, so a question I'm asked all the time by you guys is, what is the difference between salted and unsalted butter, and can I substitute one for the other? My name is Tessa and I love to share homemade baking recipes over at my site, handletheheat.com. And today I'm going to be showing you exactly what the differences are between salted and unsalted butter and which one is my personal favorite. So you want to watch this video all the way to the end to learn these tips because this will seriously improve your baking. So let's get started. Butter is such an important ingredient in baking. It not only adds flavor and richness, but can contribute to a creamy, tender, or flaky texture. My personal preference for any baking recipe is to always use unsalted butter. You probably could have guessed that. I actually always have unsalted butter on hand, either in my fridge or even in my freezer. Sometimes I like to stock up on it whenever it's on sale or go to Costco and grab a bunch because I am baking all the time and it's so easy to have on hand. Let me tell you exactly why I prefer unsalted butter over salted butter. So when it comes to salted butter in the United States, there's actually no mandate over how much salt should be in 1 pound of butter. That means that you could go to the store and buy 2 different brands of salted butter and have one be way saltier than the other because there's no standard. So you have no way to control the amount of salt in your butter and in your baking when you're using salted butter. And when you're baking, there's really no way to know just how salty the butter is until you've already completed the recipe, and by then it's too late to change anything. It's actually super crazy because some brands can have up to twice the amount of salt as other brands. So this means if you use salted butter in a recipe and also add the salt that's called for in the recipe, you could theoretically end up with 2 times or even 3 times the amount of salt than the recipe writer originally intended for there to be in the recipe, which would make it almost inedible, if not completely inedible. Using unsalted butter allows you to control the saltiness of a recipe, and when it comes to baking, precision is everything. And this is exactly the reason I use unsalted butter 100% of the time. I only buy unsalted butter, and I always just add a little bit of salt on unsalted butter if I'm using it, let's say on top of bread or for some sort of savory application where that saltiness adds a nice touch. So there's actually another reason to avoid salted butter, and that goes back to the fact that salt actually is a preservative. And since it's a preservative, it means that salted butter can last longer on the grocery store shelf versus unsalted butter. Now, this could be great once you actually bring the butter home and you want it to last as long as possible in your own kitchen, but this also means that salted butter could be on your grocery store shelves for much longer than unsalted butter, meaning that salted butter is often less fresh than unsalted butter. This usually results in salted butter having a flavor that's not only less fresh, but also less sweet and just less flavorful altogether. And even beyond that, unfortunately, salt can actually mask foul odors and flavors in butter so that you really can't tell just how fresh it is. And then on the flip side, of course, that means that unsalted butter not only lasts for less time on the grocery store shelves, but that also means you need to use it quicker at home. And that's actually why I love to freeze butter. It keeps for quite a while in the freezer, and you can just thaw it overnight in the fridge, and it's super easy. Okay, so now that you know, my preference is to 100% of the time use unsalted butter. I know there's a few of you who are wondering what you can do with the salted butter you already have on hand, or maybe you're just not convinced yet that unsalted butter really is the way to go. So if you do need a substitution, if you need to use salted butter instead of the unsalted butter that's called for in the recipe, this is how to do it. When you look at the recipe, I want you to omit at least half, if not all, of the salt called for in the recipe. So whether it's kosher salt, table salt, sea salt, whatever it is, whatever's being mixed in with all the other ingredients, you're going to want to either half that amount or cut it out completely. And again, you're going to have to play around with this because salted butter has no consistent amount across different brands. So hopefully I've convinced you in the value of always using unsalted butter in your baking. Little tricks and tips like this will seriously improve your baking. I know it seems like such a simple thing, but baking is all about being precise and keeping it consistent. And so if we can eliminate all the little problems that can happen along the way, you're going to be so much more successful in the kitchen and you're going to enjoy it so much more. Alright, so thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this all the time. I actually have another video on the topic of baking powder versus baking soda that has just exploded. Everyone seems to love it. I'll go ahead and link that one in the description box below for you. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see next time, and I'll make that happen for you. I'll see you around soon.